Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 6 of reading through the entire New Testament in 90-ish days. Today we're doing Matthew 14 through 17. Now, Matthew 14 opens up with the scene in Herod's court. Herod is the governor of the section of the Roman Empire that's overseeing Israel. Now, Herod was the man who had John the Baptist arrested because Herod's wife is Herodias. Herodias was married to Herod's brother, and now she's married to him. And John the Baptist was talking smack about that because it goes against Hebrew law to marry your brother's ex unless your brother dies before he's able to have a male child with that woman, and then you're required to marry her because you have to produce a male child in your brother's name. But none of that happened, so it was against Hebrew law, even though they're Roman and they weren't practicing Hebrew law. But it didn't stop John the Baptist from talking smack about it. So Herod had him arrested, but he didn't kill him because he was afraid of a Jewish uprising, because all the Jews in the area believed that John the Baptist was a prophet. So he had him in jail, but then we come upon Herod's birthday. And Herod's niece, who is Herodias' daughter, Salome, does a dance for Herod on Herod's birthday. And apparently it's a pretty good dance because Herod says, "I like that dance so much, I'll give you anything in my kingdom. What do you wish?" And so Salome asks her mom, "What do I wish?" And Salome's mom says, "Bring me John the Baptist's head on a plate." So Herod goes, "All right, I don't want to break my promise." So he beheads John the Baptist and brings it on a silver platter to Salome's mom. Jesus finds out that his cousin is murdered. So he goes off to a desolate area to mourn the death of his cousin. And of course, everybody follows Jesus because there's still sick people that need to be healed, and people still want to hear Jesus' teaching. So he preaches and heals the sick all day long in this desolate area. And the sun starts going down, and the apostles are like, "Jesus, none of these people have eaten all day. We're out here in the middle of nowhere. There's no food around here. Let's send everybody home so everybody can go find something to eat and get a good night's rest." And Jesus says, "We'll just feed them. What do we have here?" And the apostles say, "We have 7 loaves of bread and 2 fishes." So Jesus prays over the fish and loaves. He then starts breaking up the pieces of bread, and he's able to feed 5,000 people that had come out to hear him preach and heal the sick. And it's actually a little more than 5,000 because they only counted the Jewish men. So there were women and kids there too. So maybe up to 10,000, I don't know. Everybody gets fed, and there's still 12 baskets of bread left over. When all that is done, Jesus sends the apostles back across the Sea of Galilee, and he says, "I'll catch up with you in a little bit." The apostles are sailing across the sea, and a storm kicks up and starts rocking the boat a little bit, and they see somebody walking across the water. And they get scared and think it's a ghost, and then Jesus gets closer and says, "Fear not, it's just me." And Peter says, "If that's really you, my Lord, call out to me and tell me to walk across the water towards you, and I will." And Jesus says, "Come on." So Peter gets out of the boat and starts walking across the water, but the wind starts blowing a little harder, and Peter freaks out and immediately starts sinking. So Jesus reaches out his hand, pulls him back up to the surface of the water, and says, "Oh, you of little faith, come on, get in the boat." Jesus and the apostles are eating, and the Pharisees see that Jesus and the apostles did not wash their hands before they started eating. And so the Pharisees start condemning them. It's Jewish law. You have to wash your hands before you eat. Jesus says, number one, he cites precedent saying, here's ways that y'all have violated Jewish law. But also, it's not what you put in your mouth that causes you to sin. What you put in your mouth goes through the digestive tract and out into the sewer. It's what comes out of your mouth that causes you to sin. It's the anger and lust and worry that you feel in your heart that comes out of your mouth. That's sinning, not what goes into your mouth. A Canaanite woman approaches Jesus asking him to heal her daughter. And Even though Jesus has already foreshadowed that salvation is coming to the Gentiles after the Jews, even though Jesus has already healed the servant of a Roman centurion, still he's a little harsh with this woman. He says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But she came and knelt before him, saying, Lord, help me. And he answered, It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. And she says, Yes, Lord, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then Jesus says, Oh, woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire. And the daughter was healed instantly. Jesus heals a bunch more people. Jesus performs the miracle of the fish and loaves again. Then the Pharisees approach him and ask him for a sign. He says, I'm not going to give you a sign. The only sign you're going to get is the sign of Jonah. Remember, the sign of Jonah is that Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days. Jesus is going to be in the belly of the earth for 3 days and then resurrected back to life. After the interaction with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, Jesus tells his disciples, Be careful with the leaven of the Sadducees. You remember when we talked about mixing the leaven? A little bit of leaven mixed with the flour will make the entire amount of flour leaven. So a little bit of false teaching mixed in with your gospel will spread false teaching throughout the entire gospel. So be careful with that. Jesus tells the apostles that he is going to be killed and he's going to be resurrected back to life in 3 days. Peter pulls him aside and says, Hey, don't talk like that. I don't like hearing stuff like that. Jesus says, Not only am I going to die, be resurrected after 3 days, if you're going to follow me after I'm gone, this is what you're going to have to do. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Now, later on in the story, Jesus is going to have to carry his cross through the streets while a Roman soldier is whipping him until they get to the hill of Calvary, where they use that cross to crucify him. So he's asking his followers to take up their own personal crosses and follow him. For whoever would save his life would lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Very powerful verse. Jesus goes up a mountain with some of his apostles, not all of them, just a select few, and on the top of the mountain, he's transfigured. He's transfigured to where his face and clothes start shining bright white light to where it hurts the eyes. The Moses from the Old Testament and the prophet Elijah from the Old Testament both appear and start having a conversation with Jesus. And then God himself appears in a cloud. And he says the same thing he said at Jesus' baptism. This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. Jesus casts out a demon from a boy with seizures. A boy keeps having seizures and falling into the fire and falling into the water. And the apostles try to cast the demon out, and they can't. So Jesus says, you weren't able to cast it out because you didn't have enough faith. And Jesus does it instantly. Jesus again tells the apostles that he's going to have to die and get resurrected in 3 days. While he's talking to them, a tax collector appears trying to collect taxes for the temple. The apostles have no money, so Jesus tells Peter, go catch a fish. First fish you catch, look in its mouth, and you'll have enough money in that fish's mouth to pay the taxes. Pay it for all of us out of that money from the fish. I wish I could catch a fish and pay my taxes with what I found in the fish's mouth. That's all for today. Tomorrow we are going to be reading Matthew 18 through 20. So please do your homework. Read Matthew 18 through 20. Meet me back here. We'll discuss it tomorrow. If you got any comments, if you'd like to stitch the video, please. Otherwise, God bless.